Hey guys, welcome back to another Mythic Legions action figure review. The long-awaited All-Star wave is finally here after a grueling pre-order wait and then a delay. We finally have our hands on these figures for review, in the classic packaging showing off the entire figure and the Mythic Legions logo. Over at the back, we are using the cropped version of the Necronominus artwork, so nothing special for the All-Stars release. A few paragraphs of lore are written here, along with the portraits of the characters from that series. Over on the side, we have a small bit of lore on Thorasis, along with a small picture and his name. Mythic Legions are known for their collectible-friendly packaging, allowing you to easily slide out the back cardboard, and then remove the neatly packed accessories and remove the figure in its tray. One thing to note is that the figure is tied down with metal ties. Part of the All-Stars Series 6 wave, where fans got to vote on what figures would have an additional chance at production, and was also treated as a continuation of the Necronominus series. Thorasis, the first Risen, was part of that continuation set, adding in much more skeletons to the Necronominus wave. Thorasis is the eldest child of Necronominus and made his return to Mythos along with the Dark God. Thorasis serves as the Arch-General of Congregation, and now that he has returned, he has taken command of his father's undead army. During Thorasis' banishment, Morgulith assumed command of the undead, keeping things in order until her father's return. Thorasis spent his time banished preparing and praying for the Dark Gods to return to Mythos, and now that they have, he will usher in a new age of worship, the Liturgy of Bone, a celebration of death. Let's check out the details. The large grinning skeletal face has all the features of an aged skeleton, dried open eyes and nose sockets, with tan-colored bones stained in a brown wash. The pointed steel metal helmet is detailed with bronze rivets dotted around and upwards towards the centers, with the insides of the helmet changing to a darker purple. Moving on to the beard, we see the fine detail in the sculpt, strands of hair that are individually sculpted, with the light gray dry brush bringing out the details of each strand and a wash of brown giving it a dirtied look. Over at the side, we have a better look at the chainmail worn underneath the helmet, protecting the sides of the head. Matching the dark steel color of the helmet, the chainmail has a simple black wash to bring out the details, and here we can also see the corroded details of the purple sections of the inner helmet. A small net of chainmail protects the back of the head, where we have more similar details like the rivets and corrosion in the sculpting. We can also spot the skeletal spine here, with each vertebrae sculpted with its own details. Over at the chest, we have a tan cloth tunic, torn and shredded, with some stains in the fabric. The shoulders of the tunic are torn off, exposing the skeletal and armored arms of the figure. At the chest, we have a noticeable hole in the fabric, exposing his skeletal ribcage, hinting at what took the life of Thorasis when he was human. This is also a nod to his name, as Thorasis is a play on the word thoracic, that refers to the chest part of the body in anatomy. The tan tunic continues over at the back, battle damaged in the same areas, with two smaller holes near the top of the back. This is where we will attach shoulder armor later in the review. At the right shoulder, we have heavy armor protecting the area. In a bright, clean steel, these plates are stacked over each other in layers, with rivets dotting the sides. The elbow has a small fin-shaped decoration on the sides and a pointed edge at the back. On that same shoulder, underneath, a small but nice detail is that the leather straps here are actually painted brown, giving us a nice detail that would remain unnoticed otherwise. Continuing with the armored arm, the wrists have a steel gauntlet with a silver trim on the edges of the sculpt. The hands are exposed, showing off the skeletal fingers in a grabbing pose and matching that brown wash all over the bones. The left side of the body is exposed, showing off the bones of the figure. A standard skeleton shoulder stained with a darker tanned wash, detailed with scratches and small holes in the rough texture. The arms and hands of the skeletal arm have a steel and silver spiked arm guard attached here, secured by brown leather straps. More of the brown wash covers the bones, bringing out the damaged details and gaps between the bones. The tunic tucks into the waist, where the large belts are tightly wrapped around the body. Cracked dark leather with the black wash makes the belt look worn and dirty, and the silver notches and buckles give the belt some needed details. Belt loops hang from the side to hold weapons, and a large leather cushioning pattern is worn under the belt. At the back of the belt, we have more details here, including green pouches, more of that cushion padding under the belt, and a bit of exposed ribs from the torn clothing. Over at the thighs, the tunic freely splits open at the center, with the rest of the ends of the fabric tattered and a few strings are hanging here. A plastic sculpted piece of cloth hangs underneath, sculpted into a thick cloth texture, green and dirtied by the black wash. Opening up the tunic, we have a look at the skeletal legs, similar to the 1.0 style of bone legs seen on other skeletons. The tunic is stained and has small holes over at the back of the figure, with the cloth also ending in more tears and shreds. The lower legs are armored, using the similar steel color from the shoulder, a dark steel color and the silver trim. These armored boots have a clean appearance to them. We wrap up the detail of the figure with the feet. In an armored knight style, we have more plates layered over each other, with rivets connecting each sections at the sides. Let's take a look at the articulation. Starting off with the head on a ball joint. And the mouth opens, but since the beard is so long, it will hit the chest pretty quickly. Removing the head, we have a better look at the neck joint that twists. We have two types of shoulders. The armored shoulder opens up and rotates around, making sure to take care of the shoulder blade as they hit if opened fully. Elbows that bend inward slightly, and rotating forearms that will hit the elbow armor. Wrists that bend in and out and rotate depending on orientation. On the skeletal side, the shoulders open up and rotate just like the armored section. Elbows that bend inward much tighter. And wrists that rotate and bend up and downward. Now, while we do have a skeletal chest, it's different from the full skeletal bodies that have a ball joint in the spine of the figure. This figure still works like a 1.0 body that has a ball joint at the waist of the figure. This gives us rotating and bending all around, but the clothing will restrict most of that. Taking a look at the legs articulation, and moving the cloth out of the way, we can see that the lower body uses the 1.0 style and not the skeletal version. Similar to 1.0 sculpting, the legs can only open to the sides and bend forward and back. The skeletal legs have no thigh rotation, the knees bend back rather tightly, as well as rotation here. The ankles bend up and down, rotate, and twist. Starting off with the size comparisons, we have a full skeletal type body from Mythic Legions. Thorasis is slightly taller thanks to that pointy helmet, but as these figures are modular and can swap parts with each other, they will always be a similar size. Mythic Legions do run on the larger side of the 1/12 scale, as they are usually about an inch higher than most other brands of figures, but within the toy line they all share a similar set of parts, so there aren't really any differences in sizes between the figures other than the different body types. Even with Cosmic Legions that are usually more bulky, are at the same size and scale, as the most of the bulk comes from the large shoulder armor, head sculpts, and larger legs and boots of the figures. Here we have Hasbro, a more standard issue 1/12 scale figure that everyone has access to. You can see just how large Mythic Legions are even though they are supposedly in the same scale. Mythic Legions are just a more bulky, cartoony style that gives them that size. Jada Toys is another option at the 1/12 scale, but they are more accurate to the character's height instead of making everything 6 inches tall. Here, even the larger figures like Bison look small compared to the bulky size of Mythic Legions. McFarlane runs in their own special 7-inch scale, making them much larger than the majority of figures out there. But even here, the bulkiness of Mythic Legions makes them look almost the same size, whereas the only real difference is the style of the figures rather than the size. Starting off with the accessories, the first thing we will notice is a small warning, a simple message saying to warm up those joints. A common practice among toy collectors, this is good advice regardless of what brand of toys anyone collects. We have a very high quality dark purple cloth cape wrapped in the bag. The fabric is thick and soft. We have 2 small holes for the shoulder armor and hidden metal wires at the sides to pose the cape. A nice detail on the fur is a small metal chain hanging from each end. Installing the cape requires you to remove the head and then pop it back on. You can then match up the holes in the back to attach the shoulder armor. We have a set of shoulder armor matching the theme of the helmet with bits of chainmail. Each has its own unique damage, including corrosion and scratches, with one missing rivets and chunks of metal. The shoulder armor pegs onto the back sockets, making sure you line up the cloth holes with the back. After socketing them in, they do rotate up and down, allowing more range on the shoulders. Matching the cape, we have another dark purple cloth banner flag. It has a Necronominus faction logo on each side, bendable metal wires for posing, and elastic loops at the edges to attach onto a pole. The top of the pole can skewer into the elastic bands and surprisingly holds on tight. We have the base of the pole that attaches to the top point and flag. It's very large, but overall holds everything sturdy and is an impressive unique piece. We have an amazingly detailed bronze shield with the dark gray sculpt of Necronominus' head and helmet decorations. Underneath is a cracked purple leather plate with silver edges. At the back there is a peg for the shield grips. And surprisingly, we have both styles of shield grips, the classic grip that grabs onto the wrist of the figure, and the new style and much preferred handle that your figure can grab onto. A large Zweihander sword in gold and silver color. We have a few set of hands, starting off with a pair of grasping hands, a pair of gripping hands that bend side to side, and that same pair of hands, only these bends up and down. For the skeletal wrist, a small black and silver bracer made of a soft plastic, a set of skeletal feet with the same range of motion as the armored set, a set of spare feet joint in the skeletal style. I'm not sure why these are included, they're appreciated, but if you know, leave me a comment. A large brown leather belt with silver details like studs, notches, and buckles, and a very thin belt with more silver details. Lastly, a set of wing adapters for both 1.0 and 2.0 bodies, unused as the figure doesn't have wings and is fully closed blocking the port. Mythic Legions have come a long way, and has had the time to experiment with a ton of different methods and accessories. Thorasis feels like he is the combined knowledge of everything they have learned so far. With an excellent use of parts, cloth, and paint details, we've had many skeletal figures over the years, and yet Thorasis still impresses me and, more importantly, looks unique. The All-Star wave he was released in took about a year to produce, and then there were other delays bringing them over. And while that did annoy me, once you have the figures in your hands, it immediately becomes apparent that they were worth the wait. The cloth goods always impresses me. Mythic Legions has been working with a smaller company that produces them, and the quality shows. As more and more other toy makers are starting to include cloth, it's usually very thin, simple colored cloth. But even the cloth on Mythic Legions are stained and weathered, adding to that quality. The accessories are plentiful, and while we do notice that we don't have an alternate head, I'm not really sure what an alternate head could have been included, maybe other than a helmetless version, but overall I'm happy with what Thorasis has to offer accessory-wise. We have that amazing cape and flag banner that makes for a nice prop accessory or something for him to hold. The wires in the cloth really do open up a lot of options for posing. Even if only used to slightly adjust the clothing, it's still a great feature that I can't see not wanting in every cloth accessory from now on. The shield is very nice. I can assume that the budget for the alternate head went into it, as its massive size almost has an entire head on the front of the shield. It's a unique accessory that really stands out. The alternate feet and hands are always appreciated, but I'm still wondering why we did get additional spare feet joints. I didn't see this announced, but maybe we can use them on other figures. Overall, it's a great figure. I'm a huge fan of the undead evil characters of Mythic Legions, and I have almost every skeleton, and every time I think I have enough, we get more amazing releases like Thorasis. The cloth on this figure and the clean looking armor gives this character a regal look, and even outside the lore, this figure looks like a faction leader or commander. Thorasis is an absolute must-have for those collecting Mythic Legions, as there's just so much high quality value in this figure. There's enough spare parts to put on other figures and just looks amazing in any pose you have him. These new skeletons are coming more armored, more dressed in cloth, and somehow more unique than the other 50 skeletons already released. And the quality of Mythic Legions has only improved over time, and this figure will definitely not disappoint. He's one of the best figures in this wave. I'll definitely recommend picking him up. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave a comment letting me know how you like this figure, subscribe, or share this video with your friends to help out the channel.